So, in this segment, we're going to be talking about issues with trade between the UK and the EU, and one of the key issues is the lack of customs agents. And a certain Mister Gove, Michael Gove. I don't know if you've heard of him. Very ardent Brexiteer. Has struggled to get the amount of customs agents that he said the country needed. Now, when we dig into this article, it's going to be very confusing as to what the procedures are for actually training customs agents, and things like that, and some of the key issues. So screen's a bit blue because I have got a highlighter app after a bit of criticism, fair criticism from people. So we can, jump to the bits that are important of the article, I guess. So the collapse of Britain's trade with the EU will continue into the summer after failure to recruit 30,000 customs agents despite government assurances that normal service had resumed, industry groups have warned. So this is, when Michael Gove pulled out thin air of 96 and 95% imports and exports and all this stuff. When the Road Haulage Association said, you're lying. You're lying. And so what we can gather from this is, they've talked about a failure to recruit 30,000 customs agents, which is just for, causing problems for exports by the looks of things. We don't have enough customs agents for exports. Forget imports, just exports to the EU. And if we look here, this is Gove doesn't know how many customs agents the UK has ready for Brexit, say lorry group. So this is from the 1st of December. So the country's largest lorry lobby group has said Michael Gove does not know how many customs agents the UK will have available post-Brexit, and there will be chaos at the border on January 1st, deal or no deal. And so the government has said they will need at least 50,000 customs agents after the UK leaves the EU single market and customs union on the 31st of December. Now, we know that the border checks have been deferred for a while, but without these customs agents, you can see that there's going to be there are massive problems with trading with the EU. The collapse of Britain's trade with the EU will continue into summer. This was written. This was written after the announcement to delay border checks, but I don't know if they factored it into this piece. But this isn't the main piece that we're citing. The collapse of Britain's trade with the EU will continue into the summer after failure to recruit up to 30,000 customs agents, despite the government's assurances that normal service has resumed. So what we can gather from these articles is that the government said, Gove said they need 50,000 customs agents. Gove will not tell us how many customs agents there are. But what we do know is that, it's my cat in the background, what we do know is that the UK hasn't managed to get 30,000 customs agents. So we're nowhere near the 50,000 customs agents that Gove says that we need, which is just ludicrous, especially since he won't tell us. So how many do you think it is? Could be 10, 15,000 maybe? I don't know. So these warnings follow the most dramatic monthly fall in exports from the UK to the EU since records began. 20 years ago, exports tumbled by almost 41% as thousands of trucks failed to gain entry into the EU, mostly following customs holdups due to a lack of compliant paperwork. And so, obviously, as the system goes on, as companies get better at dealing with customs, so long as the rules and things don't change, that number has, and I think will and has fallen slightly, but the paperwork is still there. This is still an issue with exporters, regardless of if they figure out the right, how much paperwork they need, and can they get it translated into French, etc. This is still an issue, and it does add extra costs onto products, exports. Businesses also reported that a lack of customs agents meant that they were unable to respond to orders from customers based in the EU, or found their goods were returned at huge cost. So what that means is businesses, because of the lack of customs agents, businesses, risked it, and then some products had to be returned. And also the fact that, some businesses may have sold products where, the customers had to pay, had costs, VAT costs and things like that, because of the lack of kind of knowledge with some companies, small and medium enterprises, SMEs, about what are the specific costs involved to exporting to the EU. That's something that certain businesses, as a Manchester-based clothing firm, have had to deal with, I believe, and they had to cover the costs of the product. But the thing is, if they have to keep doing that, it's going to make their exports unviable. So this is in January. Goods exports to the 27 member bloc fell by 5.6 billion pounds, while exports fell by 30%, or 6.6 billion pounds. Obviously, COVID is a factor here, but the thing is, during the end of last year, we weren't looking at these sorts of numbers. So clearly, this is a Brexit issue, not a COVID issue. The Cabinet Minister, Michael Gove, the man we spoke about before, has answered critics of the UK's failure to prepare for border checks by delaying the previously agreed table for imports. That's something we've spoken about before, with certain checks being pushed to October and other checks being pushed into January. It's not important which checks are being delayed, but it's the fact that we've had to delay these things. But Brussels has insisted that UK exporters comply with EU rules on imports. This is the UK becoming a third country. That's not on them. This is on us, forcing many British firms to find a customs agent and a vet to certify that animal products are safe to enter the UK. And as people have pointed out, it takes around 5 years to train a vet. So these animal checks will be a problem for a while, at least probably until 2025. And the fact that people are struggling to get customs agents means that exports are going to keep going down, which means less money for the country. He said, this is Richard Burnett, the chief of the Road Haulage Association, saying that the delay to import checks is welcome but not a universal fix. We cannot be confident that operators will even be ready on the 1st of October. Responding to the data, the Iceman Lord David Frost, said that a unique combination of factors, that it was inevitable that we would see some unusual figures this January. But the thing is, the combination of factors is not just COVID, it's Brexit. Like, if these numbers were down massively in December and November, then you'd have a case to say that, it was COVID and, things will change. This is not a Brexit issue. But what we do know is that this is a Brexit issue because the numbers have tumbled dramatically. And I think, what other excuses can they come out with? Rod Mackenzie, the Road Haulage Association head of public affairs, said with 40% of containers travelling to the EU without goods, shipment numbers failed to show the full impact of new Brexit-related red tape. That's something Michael Gove said. Trucks are moving out of Dover fine, but these trucks are empty, so there's no customs checks. He's a joker. He said the recruitment of customs agents needed to, this is Rod Mackenzie, saying that the recruitment agents needed to rise by around 30,000 to nearer 50,000 to cope with extra regulations. I don't know if he's saying that we need 30,000 more customs agents than we do now, or 30,000 to 50,000 more than what Gove wanted. Judging by our own experience with customs agents, they are swamped with calls and turning away business, which is ridiculous. You got to imagine that there's a massive lack of customs agents in the country, so they can charge enormous fees to do the job, and the fact that they're turning away business during an economic downturn. It's crazy that any business could turn down work opportunities, clients. But that's the situation we have right now, that customs agents have so many people who need their help that they're just they're putting down clients essentially because they haven't got the staff to cope with it. He added that delays and loss of exports will continue until more customs agents were trained, leading to delays until at least the summer. I would say they were going to last at least another year because of the lack of customs agents that still aren't appearing. Small and medium businesses are likely to be hardest hit by the death of agents that play a crucial role in handling the mountain of new paperwork being imposed on firms that wish to continue trading in Europe. That's something we've mentioned a few minutes ago, that small and medium enterprises can't afford to pay for expensive customs agents. They're going to struggle to do it, and especially businesses that sell small quantities, like we spoke about the cheese manufacturers based in Macclesfield, I believe. Their company have had to set up a subsidiary within France in order to avoid all of these issues. Because exporting a small amount of cheese, regardless of how much cheese it is, they have to have vet checks and customs checks and all this stuff, and which is very expensive for the business. And this is not on the EU. This is how third countries are dealt with. Alex Outland, a partner at Accounts Blick Rottenberg and the head of the firm's Brexit advisory group, said there is no quick fix to this problem. What we need is an exporter support scheme to help British companies. And so what that means is he's saying essentially that we need a lot of money and a lot of help when it comes to exporting. because British exporters just aren't getting it at the moment, especially if we look at the whole situation with, shellfish. Some of these people, these fishermen and whatever, were told that you will be able to export shellfish into the EU without it being processed, and then it turns out that the government, George Eustace, was actually lying, and that wasn't the case. And so, we had a situation where, shellfish exporters were struggling to export their product because it has to be purified. The UK doesn't have that many purification facilities. And so, without the support and without a government that actually wants to fix these issues instead of hiding from them, these issues will not be resolved. Ministers have asked local chambers of commerce to train new customs agents, but the process is understood to be hampered by a lack of information and training for staff to pass on. And we'll be talking about that in a few minutes. But what we can tell is that the government are outsourcing the training of customs agents. And I remember reading an FT report which said that different firms are poaching customs staff from rival agencies and passing these off as new customs staff to get money from the government. It's ridiculous. You got Altman, who's also the chair of the British Chamber of Commerce in Germany, saying that extending the customs easements at the UK border until the end of 2021 is a confession by the government that the border operating model is not working. Imports from the EU are still down more than 30% compared to last year, and businesses struggling to deal with the new red tape. And the thing is, right, imports are down. Obviously, last year, if he's talking about, around now, January, February, March, we weren't hit with the worst of COVID. Well, end of March we were. But the thing is, imports are down and we haven't even started doing import checks yet. So you got to imagine how much more expensive things are going to get once the import checks start happening. And we know that the government haven't got the facilities ready. That's why they've delayed the border checks. So what happens when next year comes, the government either have to tank it and say, we have to do these checks, and you get food shortages because the food products are stuck at Dover or ports of entry. What happens then? Or do the government say we're going to delay it, or do they pretend they're doing checks and just let stuff through, and risk being sued by WTO members? I don't know. The British Chamber of Commerce has told ministers that the difficulties faced by businesses on the ground go well beyond just teething problems, because these aren't just teething problems. This is the new normal. Customs checks, vet checks. This is the new normal now. Having to have a customs agent, this is the new normal. Yes, the system will get more efficient as time goes on, and the kind of paperwork you deal with, so long as rules don't change within the EU. But the thing is, those, customs checks, vet checks, and things like that, rules of origins checks, those aren't going away. They're going to stay unless we rejoin the single market. These things are going to stay. So to say these are just teething issues is a blatant lie from the government, honestly, because this government, what they focus on isn't solving issues, it's just avoiding problems. And once they hit a problem, they just say it's temporary, it's not a big deal, it's your fault these are happening because you're not prepared. Some economists have forecast that delays at UK borders will drag on growth for at least the rest of the year, whilst the Treasury's official economic forecaster, the Office of Budget Responsibility, has said the thin Brexit deal signed on Christmas Eve would knock 4 percentage points off UK growth over the long term. So this is 4 points off the UK's growth. Why? Because we decide to go for, a suicide Brexit, essentially. Yes, this trade agreement is better than no deal, but the situation is that this is still worse than what we had. And if we actually look at how customs agents are treated, this is something for a future video, which is that are customs agents licensed in the UK? There are no licensing requirements in the UK for a trader to establish themselves as a customs agent. A customs agent's work is regulated by the complex laws specific to customs clearance and import-export regulations. So there's no actual license or anything official. Obviously there are rules you have to follow. In the UK, no formal training or qualifications are officially required in order to become a customs agent. And this could be one of the issues that, people like Gove are running into when they talk about the I think it's the Chamber of Commerce who are responsible for training customs agents. They're saying information hasn't been passed on. So they don't know specifically what they have to teach new customs agents because there's no formal, qualification for it by the looks of things. BIFA recommends, I'm not sure who BIFA are, it probably has the acronym somewhere here. Due to the complexity of operations, the legal obligations and potential to be fined, candidates aspiring to become customs agents demonstrate a sound understanding of customs law and other regulations. So this is all, if you mess up, then you can get fined. but there's no formal qualification for this, which is a joke. And if we go to, the expert on this stuff, Dr. Anna Jaworska, she talks about it's not a failure to recruit, it's a failure to train. You can't recruit people if they are not available, and training customs agents takes time. Recent cuts to HMRC funding did not help that, and austerity, taking another dig out of what the government are trying to do here. But, you can see here, I don't know how long it takes to become a customs agent in the UK because there's no formal qualification for it. Realistically, I should have studied how long it takes to become a customs agent in other countries, but I suppose, I'll try and put it in post. I'll put it in post. But yeah, anyways, what the situation we can learn is that this situation with, the country struggling with imports and exports will drag on far into the summer and probably for another couple of years until we get the amount of customs agents that we need, and also build the border facilities that we need for these customs checks to happen. Let's not forget here, the infrastructure is still not built yet. I remember listening to on the radio where they talked about some of these places are just holes in the ground still. They haven't actually set up the outposts, which are going to take time to do. And so if the government doesn't put the money required and the expertise required, I know apparently the country is tired of experts. I don't know if we're still tired about it, but, if we don't sort this stuff out, this situation will either mean that the government are forced to do proper border checks and create problems importing stuff, not do the border checks and pretend we're doing it and risk getting sued by the WTO members, or just brazenly not do it and also still get in trouble with WTO members. I don't know what the government are going to do. All I know is it's a mess, a big old mess, and Project Fear becomes boom. You've been struck by Project Reality. So I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Hopefully the more organised style is more helpful to people listening. And this is something I'll do my best to carry on in future videos. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And hopefully I will see you in the next one.